on. At this point, could we do the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Matt, please.
So get to open. Do I open the public hearing first? Open, just open the public hearing.
I'm opening the public hearing. Okay, yeah. I'm opening it. It's open.
Thank you. So the purpose of this public hearing is for the public to comment on the proposal to make a withdrawal from the Special Education Expendable Trust, as well as expend unanticipated revenue, which is a procedural exercise, as well as expend retained budgetary fund balance. So as you're all aware, we do have a budget deficit due to two primary reasons. One is unanticipated special education costs, and the other is health insurance costs. As you recall, we under budgeted health insurance this last budget cycle with the knowledge or the provision that we would utilize the trust if needed, if we weren't able to recognize those savings elsewhere in the budget. So as such, we are forecasting a total deficit of approximately $300,000. Those two items, those aforementioned special education insurance items, are approximately $440,000. So we are recommending to approve expending any surplus revenue up to $100,000, expend retained budgetary fund balance up to $100,000, and withdraw up to $150,000 from the Special Education Expendable Trust. So the notion is to utilize surplus revenue as a procedural vote. So every year we estimate revenues to the Department of Revenue. However, when we receive those funds, we may receive more revenue than we had estimated, in which case that's surplus. So that could be investment earnings for our banking interest, that could be donations from the public, that could be Medicaid reimbursement or special education aid. So the board needs to vote to accept those revenue surplus items in order to use it, because we didn't appropriate those funds initially. Additionally, when we expend fund balance, that's from the fund balance retention article that we instituted 2 years ago, where we can roll over fund balance from year to year on an annual basis. We have $100,000 in that fund, so we can utilize that for this purpose, for the unanticipated special education costs. And then finally, the Special Education Expendable Trust, we are proposing up to $150,000 withdrawal from the Expendable Trust. As you know, the trust is meant to safeguard us against these type of unanticipated costs. And I will note, however, that each of these motions are up to. These are very conservative figures. We actually expect it to be closer to that $300,000, even though it's up to $350,000. So we hope to maintain that special education trust at a lower level. We'll know that final number once we do close the books June 30th and have full audited financial report. So that is the 3 withdrawals.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Can I ask a question?
No. Yeah. Of course.
Did you say the expendable retained budgetary fund, it has 100,000 and we're taking out 100,000?
Correct.
Okay. So that can go to 0 and that's not problematic?
Absolutely. So that's essentially so that's the fund balance from year to year. So last year was at 0, and we voted to retain $100,000.
Oh, okay.
So that in every year the board will decide whether to retain those funds, keep it the same, or add to those funds if we have a balance available. So what we're proposing is that we return that $100,000.
And Matt, if I recall correctly, that has just been a new law that's been enacted that enables public schools to do that?
Yeah, so that's a recent legislation that allows schools to retain some fund balance. As you know, towns and cities have always been able to maintain an unreserved fund balance at the end of the year. However, schools have been can either vote to put it into an expendable trust, or it gets returned to the town to offset property tax assessment for the following year. There is a limit on how much that we can set aside. However, that is now a new lever that we can pull, another safeguard for the school in the event of unexpected costs such as this year.
And just for the sake of the folks who are with us here in the audience and at home, is that in part due to the fact that we're budgeting so far ahead in terms of like 2 years out? Sometimes you just don't know how things are going to shake out.
Yeah, that's a great clarification, Tamara. So we are budgeting 12 to 18 months in advance, and there are certain accounts that are extremely volatile. And one of those areas can be special education, where we could have families move into district. And in this case, we did have families move in that had students that we do have to pay tuition for out-of-district placements. Or other services, and that can work in the opposite direction too. That we could have students move out of district. However, it is very that special education costs can change from year to year based on services that students require, because that can change based on the student's IEP, and then changes in actual residency.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. So we don't want to do anything until we get in, we'll vote afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so now I'm going to open our meeting. I'm going to open with public comment at 6:39, and it will stay open until 7:09. So we'll have it for 30 minutes. Do I have anybody for public comment? Come on up, Linda.
Good evening, everybody. Is this thing on?
Yep.
It's on for at home.
Okay, great. My name is Linda Libby. You all know me. Went to school here, worked here for almost 20 years. Helped to found Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation, helps restarted the Alumni Association. By the way, we are seriously in need of new members for the Alumni Association and the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation, because a lot of us have been doing it for quite a while, and we're always looking for new people. If people are interested, they can find us right online or reach out to administration here, and they'll put you in touch with us. I'm coming here tonight because I wanted to share the great news of, we came here a few months back, I think in January, and Bill graciously allowed us to speak at the staff meeting, because we really wanted to encourage staff members or anybody to apply for grants. We do biannual grant applications, and sometimes in the years past, we've only had barely one applicant or two applicants. So when we went to the staff meeting, we were just thrilled that we got inundated with grant applications afterwards. We actually met and awarded 6 grants totaling $18,675 this spring, which is a record for us.
Thank you.
So we're thrilled, and I wanted to just share with you some of what these grant titles were, so you're aware of all of these exciting ideas that the teachers are enacting. And it doesn't have to be just teachers, it can be students. We've had students apply for grants many times with an idea. The first grant I have is from Brandon Albert and Allison Boyle. They applied for a grant called Virtual Vocalization for $270. And the objective of that grant is to provide a safe and engaging environment for students with speech and language deficits to practice social communication skills across multiple simulated settings. The next grant application is John Croto and Kelly Richards. They got $3,900. Their grant application was titled Hydroponic Farming to Cafe Project, which is student-grown produce via hydroponics served in the school cafeteria. And then the primary goal of the project is to provide a STEM education project through hydroponic systems technology, agriculture, engineering, plant biology, and chemistry, data collection and tracking, indoor agriculture. The project will also demonstrate a food cost solution. Students will learn they can grow much of their own healthy food. The next grant application was Eric Nash, who I call him the serial applicant because he's always thinking outside the box of how to improve his teaching. And I just love that about him. His grant was $3,835, and his grant is basically digital collaborative lab bench station equipment. And it basically was updating scientific measuring probes for compatibility to newly acquired iPad Pros. So we were actually thinking of an idea of maybe having an open house and having people come in to observe some of these really cool grants in action. So that might come in the fall. Another grant application was Lisa Pagano, and this one was $3,630. And her grant proposal was Native Plants and Pollinator Courtyard. And the goal of the project is to, in addition to the aesthetic value it would bring to the school, they're envisioning using the courtyard. Do you all know where that is, the courtyard? It's a little unsightly, but they're fixing it. It's going to be beautiful. In addition to the aesthetic value it will bring to the school, they are envisioning using the courtyard as a living laboratory to show students the value of biodiversity and how native plants and pollinators have evolved together to create the local habitats and ecosystems that we depend on. So that's that. Another grant is Diana Wiedenbacher and Tim Collins from the Decisions Program. Their grant title was Making Thinking and Learning Visible. And basically what they did is they applied for some equipment that, it's hard to describe, but it's basically like a whiteboard where the teacher is teaching here and the students are in front of them. And whatever it is they're writing, they can see from the other side. It like reverses it or flips it. Okay. So it's a really cool piece of equipment. And Diane is going to demonstrate to other teachers or loan it out to other teachers. So, and that grant, the grant amount for that was $2,150. And then the last grant was Julie Hall, Technology Integrator. She applied for a grant, and it was $4,890. And the title of the grant is the Virtual Reality Innovation Lab. And the objective is the primary goal of the proposed VR Innovation Lab is to align with Winnacunnet High School's commitment to providing an inclusive and dynamic learning environment by incorporating the Portrait of a Learner core themes. The VR headsets and educational experiences will be an important tool in our quest to create and deliver immersive and engaging lessons. So that's the last one. Grand total, as I said, was $18,675. I do want to read one little thing because this is what makes our day, the people on the committee. I got a note the next morning from Eric Nash saying, "Thank you so much. The foundation has done so much for the school, the teachers, and especially the students. The ramifications on the students you have aided over the years has been immeasurable. This grant is the keystone for the collaborative classroom that started over a decade ago with the kitchen stove in front of the room, purchased through the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation. How many chemistry labs have one of those? When I began teaching, we needed to recruit girls to take chemistry. Now there are more girls than boys, just one of the results of your good work. If there were only more people like those in the foundation. Can't thank you enough.
Awesome.
So
That's
that
great.
just makes us so happy.
Well, we
So-
appreciate all the foundation does.
So-
You guys are amazing.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share all of that happy news with you, and that's it.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank
before
you very
leave,
much.
Well, two things
Whoop.
that you haven't mentioned. One, the Alumni Association annual event is
Oh,
Saturday, June 15th.
thank you. So we have our annual event. We have a wonderful speaker this year, Cindy Myers-Carlton. She's an award-winning educator. I can't even think of all the things she's done. She's written books, she's written plays, she's written musicals, but she's kind of like Ken Martin and Pat, oh my God, what's Pat's the name? Pat Moore. She is like both of them combined.
Oh, wow.
But she is an amazing person, and she is our Winnacunnet alumni, and she's our speaker this year. So it's going to be at the Old Salt, and people can just go on the Winnacunnet Alumni Association site. What else did I forget?
That on later on the agenda, we do have a donation from the Friends of Winnacunnet, $10,000 towards the ADA walkway.
Awesome.
Yay, that's
Thank
awesome.
you. That's
So
great.
anyway, if anybody wants to join our committee, we'd love it.
Awesome.
Community members, anybody's welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Linda. Appreciate it. All right. Next one is, we're going to do the special ed.
Whatever order you like. Oh, no, I think,
Want to do that one afterwards?
yeah,
wanna do
I think let's
Pride?
do our, I was gonna say either that or our recognition.
Let's do our recognition next.
So, Barrett Christina from the New Hampshire School Board Association is here to recognize one of our students. Stay there for a
Stay there, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Meredith, and thank you to the Winnacunnet Board. Pleased to be here for such a great purpose. The New Hampshire School Boards Association is proud to offer a yearly scholarship recognizing and rewarding graduating students who serve as their school board representative. NHSBA provides 5 awards of $2,000 each in each of the 5 statewide regions. Factors considered for award winners are academic achievement, active participation in school-sponsored and extracurricular activities, community service activities, and an essay on the topic, the role of student voice in decision-making. NHSBA is pleased to announce that the winner of the 2024 NHSBA Student Scholarship for the Southeast Student Representative Scholarship for the Southeast region is Winnacunnet High School senior Luke Parrish. Luke's academic accomplishments are numerous. He's maintained an outstanding grade point average while taking many rigorous honors and advanced placement courses. Luke has repeatedly been placed on the high honor roll, was named to the National Honor Society, is an AP scholar, and was a United States Senate Youth Program finalist. In addition to being an excellent student, Luke is also engaged in numerous extracurricular and community-based activities, including student council, serving an internship at Portsmouth Regional Hospital through the high school's Extended Learning Opportunity Program, and was captain of the varsity math team. Luke's references describe him as a young man who is hardworking and dedicated, a class act who leads with respect, kindness, and the golden rule, and an exceptional student, citizen, and Winnacunnet community member. It is clear that Luke is a young man of many accomplishments, is a wonderful representative of Winnacunnet High School, and has a bright future ahead. Please join me again in congratulating Luke Parrish as a recipient of the 2024 NHSBA Student School Board Representative recipient.
Someone needs to get photos.
Yeah, we need to get photo ops.
Oh, yeah, help me out. Okay, and then maybe one, you get a good
You guys gotta-
here too.
Yeah.
And then we'll get mom and
And
dad.
then get mom and dad in too. Yeah.
Luke was really hoping that you'd come with the big check.
Yeah.
I'll talk to my board and get that.
For next
Actually,
time.
Dad was probably hoping.
Yeah, the giant size one.
I love it.
Yeah, Barrett, you can be in there too.
Yeah, no,
go ahead.
all of it.
With my parents?
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you very much.
much.
Well done, Lou.
Thank you.
I am, so far, student body president. I haven't released rank yet, but maybe one of those.
We're 2 for 2.
I think I'd give a double speech.
We're doing so all right.
Bring it into one, yeah. It'll be really good.
Yes.
Just few in this?
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get the surprise.
We need that. Well, Barrett, it can be a statue of you. It can be a statue of you, right? Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Luke, can we announce then where you're going?
Oh, yeah, well, this feels like I don't know, I'm going to Yale.
Yay!
I decided, yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It has been truly wonderful having you serve on the board for us, because you've come in with great ideas, you've come in with the voice of the students, and it is so appreciated from all of us on the board, I'm sure. And we will miss you next year, but know you're gonna do great, so
Yeah.
keep in touch, all
It was a
right?
hard choice, but I'm excited. Yeah.
Good, we'll keep in touch.
Do you
All
want,
right.
do you want to do Winnacunnet Pride now?
I can do it, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't mind. Okay, so we're approaching the end of the year. It's a win. So we have, the past 2 weeks have been AP testing, and then, so that's wrapping up Friday. And then for this terms of the senior class, we have graduation on June 7th. Our guest speaker is Maura Healy, Governor Maura Healy, which is exciting. And then a couple weeks ago, the junior prom took place. It was the Enchanted Night theme. And then right now we're doing student council elections. So I brought Zoe Muller.
Hi, Zoe, welcome.
She's gonna be the student body president next year, so she'll take my spot.
Awesome.
And then next week for the student council, we're going to the State House for our the award ceremony we do every year to find out if we got honor council, and Zoe will share that in June. And then the art show is tonight. Next week, May 23rd, is the Triam Coffee House, and then on the 30th is the spring concert. And finally, with sports, they're kind of coming to the end with some teams that are going to the playoffs. But that's everything.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And what's the forecast for June 7th?
I'm hoping
Sun.
it's
Sun.
hoping for sun.
And a little warmer.
A little warmer, yeah.
And a little warmer would be fine, yeah.
Wind.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Well, thank you. Now we're gonna go back up. Let's do, we're gonna do the,
Folks here for trips.
yep, we got trips. Let's do the Costa Rica trip first. How's that?
Okay,
Sure.
yeah, come up here.
We'll have to switch you out.
You're unplugged.
Oh, shoot, were you, yeah, you,
That's okay.
we're switching you around.
That's okay.
Thanks, Mary. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Nope, there is a second.
Great. Okay, I'm Shannon Clifford, and this is my 25th year teaching English here at the high school. I have 2 children who are here, and I recently discovered, do I need that?
Just for the people at home.
Oh, for the people at home. Okay, so I recently discovered that that my teenagers might not want to go on vacation with me for very much longer. So I was like, well, how can I trick them into that? So, so I was paying attention, and I don't know how I missed it for so many years. But anyway, Heather Noon and Barbara Reed, thank you. Yeah, word recall here. Anyway, they've been traveling through this company, EF Tours, for a number of years, at least 10 years they've used them. And so I thought I would check it out. And what I have in the presentation is far too much for this meeting today, but I didn't realize that until I was halfway through it. And I'm a go-getter, so I finished it. So I don't need to do the whole thing, but
I put the most important stuff at the front, anyway. Okay, so a year ago, you know, I put out the word that I'd like to host a trip to Costa Rica, and so we went through a long planning process, and in the end, we ended up with 21 students and 7 boys, 14 girls. We had 10 from Hampton, 10 from Northampton, 3 from Seabrook, and 1 from Hampton Falls. Everybody was represented. 9 seniors, 11 juniors, and a sophomore who did not know anyone. And of those 21 kids, 10 of them had to get their passports just for this trip. So I thought that alone is worth bragging about. So pretty cool. All right, so if you don't know where Costa Rica is, there it is. It's teeny tiny, and it's bi-coastal. Okay, so lots of pictures here. We left the school here at 4 a.m. Yeah, and we ended up in San Jose at 7:40 p.m. So it was a long way. Okay, so we were tired when we got there. So I wanted to start with what I ended with, because I don't want it to get cut off. So these are what students had to say about what they learned about themselves. And I just highlighted the most important part. You all know how to read, so I'll just read the highlighted parts. And there's a lot of overlap here. So with a lot of support, it is so much easier to face things you are either scared of or would never do yourself. I can eat and enjoy way more food than I ever thought I would. I'm able to adapt to new environments and try new things. I can do things I couldn't do before. Okay, so you'll find out more about that. How it feels to be outside of the country without my family. It helped me better describe my own interests, how interested I am in nature, and how I'd like to live in an environment as eco-friendly as Costa Rica. So one of the reasons I like to travel is just how much I just love to learn. And there's so many things you learn that you don't anticipate learning. So another big one, this one was quite lengthy. She didn't know how much she enjoyed thrill-seeking. She gained organizational skills, learned how to be on time, how important that was, and she said it truly changed her life, which was fantastic. Okay, what students learned about Costa Rica, lots of this. This is color-coded. I put it in green if it had to do with, like, land, flora and fauna, etc. So the flora and fauna, what else do we have? Historical, cultural significance. Did you all know that coffee and chocolate companies use a product that grown in Costa Rica, but then they rebrand it themselves? But the Costa Rican companies use the highest quality and keep that and brand that at home. Anyway, they have 12 different microbiomes. There's a tremendous diversity between the wet and dry forest. I learned a lot about pineapples and the geography of Costa Rica. I'm going to keep going here. Everyone is friendly, hundreds of different animals and plants, more animals, biomes, cacao chocolate, volcanoes, and plants. Okay, highlights. We've got whitewater rafting, zip lining, snorkeling, hot springs, whitewater rafting. We did all kinds of stuff. Getting to see my favorite animal ever, which was a peacock, seeing a sloth, seeing a parrot. These animals were in the wild when they saw them. Getting to talk to town people, doing a scavenger hunt. And these are images that students offered up themselves for me to share. So that's what these particular ones are. They're pretty fantastic. Okay, a few more. Food. Snorkeling, more food. Speaking to people in the communities, kayaking. So we got a couple more here. It was pretty fantastic. So I'll go through this quickly, and if it gets dizzying, please tell me to, that's enough. So, because I've got so much here. Okay, so we flew into San Jose, and the landscape, the biomes across the country changed drastically as you cross, which is why many people come in on one side of the country and they fly out of the other so that you can see all the different parts. So first we went to Sarapiquí. We toured a coffee farm. Those are coffee beans. We saw how they actually, this is like the factory where they run all the coffee beans through, which is really cool. This is coffee beans produced del Patio. So they are dried in the sun, and you can buy that version. That's the version I bought for my husband. Pretty cool. There's some of these are all the male travelers that we had here. Let's see, zip lining and stopping. Oh, let's pull over and check out the waterfall on our way through, and stopping by organic strawberries. Oh, I already used that one, sorry. Okay, that's me. It was a long way. That's my kid. Don't tell her that I put her in here. Okay, whitewater rafting with an included lunch after. We all dove off. That's Mr. Yaten. He's another one of the chaperones that went with us. That's me. Okay, lots of fun. The water actually was very, very low. And there were lessons all throughout, even the rafting, about all the animals and the birds that we saw along the side, and learning about the sources of the hydraulic electricity, and how they could time it better so that the rafting community and the electricity company could help each other, but they can't seem to get that sorted out, I guess. What else did we do? This was cacao, a lesson in how to make chocolate. So that's a chocolate bean before anything has been done. That's after it's been cooked. So we watched them actually make it in front of us while we sat in the rainforest. They used old-fashioned things. This was like a little hot melted chocolate cacao bean buffet. So you could add all the traditional flavors. You could add pepper, hot pepper, sugar, and milk. And we each went through like 4 times because they had more little cups. Let me try this combination. So it was really fun. What else do I have here? After this, we walked across this suspension bridge, which was pretty amazing, and did a little nature walk on the other side, where we saw this animal. So the gentleman that was our tour guide is a Costa Rican native. He is currently getting his PhD in, now I'm going to forget, something with plants, I'm sorry. Anyway, so, and literally, I'm a woman of 1,000 questions. Anything I asked him about any animal or plant anywhere, he was able to answer. And when we went in the forest on this jungle walk, we saw two Tara. In his entire time taking taking groups out in 20 years, he had never seen Tara before. And they are related to weasels. Okay. That is me walking over that suspension bridge. Yeah, and if you looked at it, I don't know, you can kind of see there, like, it was put together in like a patchwork kind of a way. It was not uniformly made. Anyway, and this, you can't really see much, but this little guy here is the Tara, and he was fighting with another one. I think that's it. Anyway, oops, how do I get out? Okay. Oh yes, optional pineapple farm. This was, only a handful of us went on this adventure, and it was fabulous. We each ate at least one of our own pineapple. We picked our own pineapples. We saw pineapple agriculture at every step of the way. They gave us fancy pineapple drinks at the end. It was incredible. Small family-owned business. And then a few of us took salsa dancing lessons. And you can see here, actually, I haven't mentioned this before, but for EF Tours, which stands for Education First Tours, they require you to have 36 travelers to be your own group. Otherwise, you are almost certainly going to be paired with other smaller groups. And so we were paired with 2 other groups, actually. There were 5 girls from the inner city Baltimore who were there with us, and there were 7 girls from a farming community in Wisconsin who were with us. So we traveled and did everything together, and we all learned from them and from each other as well. So after that adventure, we, did I skip something? I don't know. Okay. We traveled to the Arenal region, and we hiked outside a volcano. This is Andres, who's our tour guide. That's a pepper plant, and apparently there are so many that they can't even classify them all. And this little, he called them a wax candle. That is apparently how you know what it's a pepper plant. Anyway, we learned many things. That's the biggest leaf that you see in the jungle there. That's a big tree. That's Mrs. Langmaid, Karen Langmaid, who is an assistant in the guidance. Thank you. Sorry. Anyway, yeah, big tree, right? It was the only one in the last one, and it was already dying or dead. This was Arenal volcano, which is an active volcano, and you can almost never see the top of it. So we were quite fortunate. That is what it looked like when we were as high as you can go without inhaling toxic fumes, etc. So pretty cool. Then what do we do? Then we went to, okay, is this enough, do you think? Should I keep going? Give me some feedback. It's cool? Keep going? Okay. Okay, great. So we actually, en route between places, they were long drives. It's a very small country, so Andres knows many people, and it was really, really cool to see how he was able to make connections, which I presume are, what's the word? I'm not going to come up with a word. Anyway, it was a mutually beneficial relationship. So we stopped on the side of the road in the middle of the countryside, which actually is where we were the whole time, was the countryside. And we stopped at these folks' house, and these women made us a traditional Costa Rican meal, and they sat all of us and fed all of us outside. Their children had made little souvenirs and bracelets and stuff, and they were selling them to us. And prior to coming here, I had let Andres know that we had 3 students on our trip who had birthdays during the trip. 2 of them turned 18. And so he and our bus driver got in cahoots. They dropped us off and go in the grocery store and get yourself some Gatorade. And they went to a bakery in this huge bus, and they got us a birthday cake. And then they surprised us after this meal, so it was fantastic. Then we went to these hot springs, which are the fanciest thing. None of us were expecting it after all the, just regular daily life stuff that we were doing, to be in these beautiful hot springs. So it was really warm, and there were multiple pools. That night, an extra thing that everyone in our group did was a night hike through the jungle. And we broke up into 3 groups, so we were smaller. You had to be really quiet. Some people were freaked out. My group saw caiman alligators and their babies and 2 cool birds. The other group saw 2 different kinds of sloths, 8 different kinds of frogs. I sound like I'm complaining. It was wonderful. I wish we had all seen all of them, but it was really, really fun. Okay. Next, again, we connected with this very small local company, which if I were on my own, I might say, I don't know if I want to go here. I would go through a big place that I know has, everything that I could possibly need. But Andres had all these connections, and so we went with this small local tour group, and we kayaked across Lake Arenal towards that is the same volcano that you saw in the other photos. So we kayaked across the lake, got out and swam on the other side, played catch with crocs, which I thought was, wonderful. And then later, after lunch, we went to this waterfall. So it looks pretty small. So just keep watching how small it is, okay? This is us closer, and you can't really see. This is a full, these are all of our students. I hung back so I could get a picture. And that's one person standing up. This is that same waterfall. There we go. And that's it. Other groups were swimming down here, but Andres did not think it was a good idea for a group of teenagers. Anyway, so it was a very long hike up the stairs back, over 500 stairs. All right. Oh, yes. Okay. So that night, we went into the town, and Andres had divided up our large group, so all the kids, so the 21 kids and the 7 kids and the 5 kids, mixed everybody up, so we're all mixed up, and then divided them into 4 groups, and they each had a scavenger hunt that was different from the other groups, each question, there were probably 6 or 7 questions, they had to ask locals questions and communicate with locals, perhaps in Spanish, perhaps in sign language, I don't know. They didn't always get what they were looking for, but they learned a lot, and this was actually one of their favorite things that they did. So while they did that, the adults got to look around the town a little bit. These are all wild parakeets up here. You can't see them, but that's what that's a picture of. That's a little church downtown. Many pastries that I was eyeballing, and empanadas. This was the tree that I thought was fantastic. Yes. And I thought, just like at home, they've got like a little, we've got Portsmouth. They've got La Fortuna. These are different groups looking around on their scavenger hunts. Okay. Next day, we headed across to the dry part of the country. And let's see, you can't really see it here, but there's a mountain range here, mountains and volcanoes here. And as you might imagine, everything on one side, of course, the water all goes out to the Atlantic, and on this side, it goes to the Pacific. All right, so we traveled to Guanacaste and had lunch en route. So we actually traveled from over here. We went to, Guanacaste is the region. This took me a long time to figure out. We went to Liberia, is the city, and Andres grew up there. And we went to his father's house, and they made a traditional birthday meal that we helped prepare the appetizers, and the traditional birthday meal took a couple days to make. But Andres' father, he and his father have plants, all local plants, filling up the entire backyard. Trees, local vegetables, all kinds of stuff. So we hung out there and had lunch at their house. Does anyone want to guess what that is? It's so cool. So a hint, this is a food that you know and that you like, but it's not the fruit part. We eat the part that is not the fruit. So look at that little thing. It looks like a stem. It's not a stem. Any guesses? That is a cashew. And this, when I saw it, I said, that's why cashews cost so much money, right? That's one cashew inside this. And you can't eat this part. They had it in their yard, and so we just tried it. And it's just kind of starchy, sort of sweet, sort of not sweet. It was tasty, but we did not eat the cashews because they require cooking. This is Andres' sister. She was helping to cook, and I was helping his aunt. These are plantains. We peeled them and cut them and fried them once, and then students smashed them, and then they cooked them a second time, and then we ate them. It was delicious. This is just some of the other kids. So they set us all up on tables and chairs outside. Everybody ate and drank until we had coconut water. There's Andrew. He was cooking the plantains the second time. That's me and the bus driver, Ivan. He took really good care of us. He walked around silently at the back of our pack. Big silent guy, keeping his eye out for everything. Super sweet, did not speak any English at all. All right. Okay. So this is at the entrance to, this is just a random rooster that I thought was funny. Okay. Anyway, this is the entrance to a dry, desertous national park. They have a lot of national parks. Anyway, so these are just a few of the beautiful pictures. This is, they call it an ear tree. It's like a pod, and it's shaped like an ear. And the word for it is Guanacaste, and that was the region that we were in. Very, very different landscape than what you saw before. And actually, we actually went through a dry forest and then through a wet forest again. Active volcanic activity is what you're seeing right here. A few kids. Iguanas, random iguanas. They were tough to spot. More volcanic activity. We saw some monkeys. We actually were able to see all 3 kinds of monkeys that they have in Costa Rica in the wild. Absolutely fascinating. I'm currently obsessed with the white-faced monkey, which is called does anyone know? I think of cappuccino, but that's not what it is. It's like caputin or something like capuchin. They are so smart. They have 1,100 words in their vocabulary. It has been documented that they will open a coconut and dip their hand in the oil and put it all over their face as sunscreen. They use lime juice and put it under their armpits. Like, unbelievable. Pretty cool, yeah. More volcanic activity, beautiful flower. Okay, and let's see. I'm getting lost here. I can barely remember. The last hotel that we stayed at, the boys and the girls were finally actually talking to each other. I thought it was hysterical. Right? It only took 5 days, yeah. And finally, they were like relaxed, you know. So, and it was the town outside Liberia was not a real, like, we were not granted permission by Andres to go walk around at night in this town. But the hotel was like on the outside, and this was in a courtyard on the inside, so it was really lovely. We all have balconies, little chicken fighting, hot tub. There had been this local guy in the hot tub sitting right here for like 2 hours. In the middle of all of us. Yes, he didn't care at all. But when I asked if I could take a picture, he said, no, thank you. And he got up and left. Okay, the last day, we traveled to the beach. When we got to the beach, we got in a boat, and we crossed from over here to over here. And as you may have heard, Costa Rica is a place with many, many big waves. It's a huge surfing place on both coasts. And so I think it's probably unusual to find an area like this that's sort of protected where you can actually go snorkeling. It was beautiful. And that's us heading out. We divided up onto 2 boats. That's the other boat. And a few favorites. Okay, what was left? Ranchos Los Coyotes. We stopped and had lunch at a working ranch. Also, just happens to be a place where Andres knows the people. It was unbelievable. Yeah, they had all kinds of animals and also, cows and horses. But we ate outside. They had an outdoor working kitchen. And we actually had to hurry because we had another appointment, but it was delicious and fun. So that's that place. All right, we're almost done here. Then we went to to look for crocodiles. And the water, you didn't have to look far, I can tell you. And actually Andres had a friend who was killed and eaten by a crocodile. Yep, because people don't take it seriously, apparently. Sorry, I'm laughing. Anyway, as I said before, they were in a drought, like we had been here, and so the water was pretty low. We had our little speaker there. There's a croc for you. This is one right here. A little hard to see, but I thought it was cool right between these girls' heads. Lots of really cool birds. This is called a Jesus Christ lizard because it's known for going so fast that it appears to be walking on water. Yeah, pretty cool. And that's an iguana that I spied from very far away, which is pretty cool. And you can tell, actually, iguanas drop their tails. So if something attacks them, they drop it, and then they can grow a new one, which I thought was kind of like a symbiotic relationship. Like, the grabber of the tail still gets to eat, and the other guy still gets to get away. All right. On the final night at dinner, we actually sat in our groups that we did for the scavenger hunt. And it looks in some of these that the kids are looking at their phones, and I just want you to know they were looking at the answers for the scavenger hunt that they had written down in their phones. We didn't go to Costa Rica and hang out on our phones. So anyway, every single person, and Andres knew everyone's name by the end of the trip. Every single person talked about their experience in the scavenger hunt and also their experience in general. And it was awesome. And at the end, we gave Yvonne some chocolate and some cashews, and we gave Andres in our he's carrying a Winnacunnet bag. Can you see it? We got a Winnacunnet backpack from our school store, and inside is some local honey and some local maple syrup, which he went bananas over because you know how expensive it is here. So think how expensive it is for him. Anyway, so he was delighted as a botanist. That's what it is. He's getting his PhD in botany. It took me that long to come up with a word. And then in the morning, he showed us around his area of the neighborhood, which is where he grew up. So there it is. The market. It was fantastic. Pura vida, that's what they say there. It means pure life. They say it as hello, goodbye, good luck, congratulations, everything's cool. So.
I heard from some parents that the kids thought it was an amazing trip.
Thank you for sharing that. By the time we got back, they didn't want to talk about it. So I haven't gotten as much feedback as I would have liked, but I did get some. And I'm hoping that next spring, I'll be allowed to take a group to Belize. That's my question.
That was great, though. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Have the kids from young adults from the groups that were from the different places, have they kept in touch?
I don't know.
Have they connected? Like, did it seem like they were all kind of interacting and?
It did, and there were a couple kids that were really, really tight. And, but of all the kids I only have 3 of those 21 kids in class.
Okay.
And so so the ones that I would think might be in touch, I never see them, actually. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple long-term friendships from that.
How cool is that to just meet different people from like your own country, from different parts of your own country in Costa Rica and live that experience with them? I think that's so amazing.
Yeah.
It really is.
Any other questions?
No, thank you very much for taking them.
Thank
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that a possibility, the Belize?
We'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Do we have the Spain trip or no? There's nobody here.
Costa Rica to Spain?
Yeah.
Sure. And now to Spain.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's me again.
Yeah.
But not just today. Well, while we're getting ready, so our trip to Spain, we went to the region Extremadura. We brought 11 kids. I had 2 of my kids today with me, so they can add to the experience that we have in there. Why 2 weeks? That's a good question, yeah? That was an exchange student program with San Antonio de Padua. San Antonio de Padua School in Cáceres. This is a private school. It's like a Catholic religious school. They been working with New Hampshire, other schools in New Hampshire and Maine for 16 years or more. And this is the first year that they went with us. And they really, they say that our kids, they were the best ever group.
Of course they were.
So they want to bring us again. Yeah. So this is the first picture that I put in there talking about wow. What is the name for them in English? Remember, I don't know English. Storks. The storks are the most popular bird in the region. So everywhere that you go, you see storks at the giant nets. So it was kind of beautiful. And everyone was laughing because I talked to them about my childhood experience with storks.
Yeah.
Because I come from a big family.
So they were always.
So yeah, Yeah, my parents used to tell us that we were broke by the storm. So I sent a letter to that one in the hope that they don't bring more kids to my house.
Yeah.
Okay, so the April 14th, we left Winnacunnet at 7 p.m. And, you know, we have a 6 hours difference head time in there. So right now, it's like, what, 3 o'clock in the morning out there? Yeah. So we left, we took the flight around, what, midnight? Like 11 midnight. So we flew and arrived to Barcelona noontime in the noontime in the afternoon, because then when we took the other flight to Madrid.
Okay.
So it was like 6 o'clock in the morning in here. We were all like, yeah, really challenging with the time. So then that is Barcelona, Madrid, and then we are Madrid, and then Barcelona in Cáceres. Cáceres, the students meet with their families, and that was like our day 2, April 15, and we just call it for the day because everyone was tired, so we don't done much. What did you done that day after meeting your families?
8 showered and slept.
Yeah.
Same here, 8 showered and slept. Okay. April 16, that's like Tuesday.
Yeah.
Day 3, it's just kind of
Like the first, like it was their Monday, like their Tuesday, the first day.
Okay.
Our first day of school.
our first day, because we arrived on Monday. We were extremely tired. Nothing happened that day for us. And so that's the principal from the school, and he welcomed us, and it was kind of interesting. He talked to us about the school. It's been, running for more than 50 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember the details?
He was talking about the school, the history of Cáceres, and then he was talking about the school, the history of Cáceres, and then like they don't do like their Pledge of Allegiance, but they have a prayer to San Jorge, St. George. Yeah, San Antonio. Sorry, San Antonio.
They call him patron.
Their patron saint. Yeah. So they have a prayer to him at the beginning of every class. So he taught us that, and then he taught us about like their school rules, like the town and stuff like that, and what we'd be doing there.
Yeah. Oh, and the school rules, that's a free zone, no cell phones, no technologies. The kids that are not allowed to have a smart watch or even a phone at all. Zero. Okay. Well, I had to add that one. Okay. So in this picture we see,
All right. So the picture of us in school is that the tour guide, I guess, was talking to us about the history of Cáceres before we actually went into the town. And the cool part about the town is like where we were staying and living, like that's their homes, but the middle where that picture is right there where the Cáceres sign is like the antique part of it. So it's all old buildings and everything. And we got to learn all about the history and like why all of those towers were there, who they were built by. And like I thought it was really cool that we learned about all the history of it before we went there, because it like allowed us to appreciate it more, because obviously just looking at buildings is cool, but we actually knew like why they were there and who built them, so that was all cool.
and it was kind of cool too that the teacher was speaking to them in Spanish, and she was switching in between Spanish and English, and then she was asking them if they understood in Spanish. Everyone was nodding. And then when we were into the town, the old city, and she was asking questions to them in Spanish, they were answering in the language. So I was very proud of that.
Very proud. Yeah.
Okay. So that's some pics of the old city, Cáceres. You can talk about that, girls.
So the old city is kind of comprised of like 3 major historical events in Spain, because it was first controlled by the so it was Romans, and then the Islam people, and then Catholics. So a lot of like the buildings, you can kind of see the history there. There's a lot of medieval towers, a lot of small streets. It's a very walkable city. They have a lot of like religious history there. They're a pretty religious country, I'd say. So it was kind of cool to see all of that.
I mean, I don't really have much more to add like to this day. I think we should just keep going.
That is like day 4. Finally, we have a tour of the whole school, and the kids we visit some English classes, so they were interacting with students. Oh, one thing that we forgot, they have from daycare to the last level of high school. So it's integrated. Yeah, and they had dorms, how do you call it, where the students live?
Dorms.
Remember, English is
Dorms.
awful.
It's
Dorms,
okay, dorms.
because they have international students too.
Okay.
They promote the sport players that are very, very good, basketball.
Oh, all right.
So they go there and they live in the school and they go to school too. Okay. So this is one of the tours. This is the museum that they have in the school. So we got tour in there, library. And this is a presentation that you can talk about this, kids.
This was absolutely terrifying because we were there for like 3 days, and they're like, okay, yeah, you guys can go up there and just talk about why you're here, why you did this, why their students should do this, and it's in Spanish, which, like, I mean, I can't even express like how amazing this was because my Spanish got so much better. Like, we came back and like a week later we had to do a presentation, and like I did so much better here than I was doing like before. So I really do think that it did help me, but in the moment I was terrified. I was like, what am I gonna say? Somehow I did it. We got through it, and I mean, I don't know, it's just awesome. It was great to like meet the students that we hadn't been living with because it's just great to like be so immersed in the culture. But yeah.
I have videos, but we will not have time to show the videos to my kiddos speaking in Spanish.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, this was absolutely horrifying for me. They were like, all the Spanish students walked up first, and they were talking in like the fastest Spanish you could ever possibly hear, and like all the words meshed together, and I was like, what am I supposed to say? So I got like 3 sentences out, and I was just like, you next. It was so nice.
Okay, after that day, we went to La Ruta, that was the same day. We went to La Ruta Los Barruecos. That is like an archaeological site. And we went to a museum, the Vostal Museum. Carmen was very impressed because she said, oh, every group that we bring to this museum, the kids, they are so bored and we had to leave in less than 5 minutes. Our students, they were so engaged with what they were seeing that they want more time in there. So that was very impressive. You can tell if you want about what was inside the museum.
It was contemporary art, all based on like the revolutions that they had and like all their political ideas. There was like a car with rakes and plates and oil, which was interesting. But I thought it was kind of cool. My favorite part was like the nature that was surrounding it. Like they had like this huge patio on the lake that you can see on the picture to the right. And they had like just this huge national park. I thought it was really pretty, even though there was like poop everywhere. It was so bad.
From the storks?
The storks.
Okay,
so this is the next day.
This was definitely, I think, my favorite day because I was just not expecting to see things like this. Like, I mean, I obviously came on this trip mainly for like the relationships and like being immersed in the culture, but then we got to see something like this, which you don't like. I didn't think I was going to see something like that in Spain, but it's like so beautiful. And meanwhile, you're walking through a town and then you just see this. Like, it's not. It's just so weird. We were just walking and then all of a sudden we're walking into this. Like, it's just so, I can't even express it, but I mean, you can see it through these pictures. It's so beautiful. We got to see this museum, which, I don't know, it was just like a good introduction to like what we were going to be seeing, and they just taught us a lot about like the art and like everything, and it was just a lot of history that we learned about the city.
This is a new discovery. They were digging to build, like making neighborhoods, and they're digging, they discovered these ruins of a Roman house. So they just like trying to fence it for, like tourist sites. Then that was Friday. We went to Lisbon, Portugal. What did you learn in there, kids? So we went in
the little tuk-tuks. We had a tuk-tuk tour, which was, I mean, the guys got the nicest tuk-tuk, and it was like covered in flour. It was so pretty. But like we all went on our tuk-tuk tours. Our tour guide was really nice. And everybody was just like blasting music, and it was so much fun. They took us to a bunch of different sites of like the city and stuff. I thought Lisbon was really cool. We got a few hours afterwards to kind of go explore as we wanted to. which was nice. Like we got to go see shops and stuff, and this was a trip with the exchange students. So all the trips we've had before this have just been the American students, but with this one we went with like all of our Spanish friends and stuff like that, which was really cool. Like this is the city, it's really pretty. So we got to go see shops and walk around the town, which was really fun.
Because I forgot to tell you guys, the kids, we went to the school up there started at 8:30 in the morning. So it was from 8:30 in the morning to 2:30. So we were there at 8:30, and then around 10:30, 11, we went to do the tours. And then at 2:30 or 5, depends in how far away was the place that we visit, we come back to the school, the parents pick up our kids, and they went home. So they can talk to you about what was the experience of living with these families.
I'd just like to mention that it was 6:30 in the morning, and we were all on the bus to Lisbon trying to get some sleep. And the Spanish people, they party so hard. I don't understand it. It was 6:30 in the morning. They're blaring Bad Bunny in the back of the bus. And we're just like, they're like dancing. They're on the bus. Like the bus driver had to keep going, sit down, sit down. It was so much fun. They were crazy.
I had to tell you that that's part of my culture too. Seriously, I'm sorry. I am Latino. We wake up singing and dancing, and we go to sleep with music too, yeah. So it's kind of funny because one day I come into Winnacunnet school singing in the morning, and one of my colleagues say, Chicky, did you know that it's bad luck to sing in this early in the morning? And I say, oh, just shut up and don't ruin my day. Well, yeah, so, okay. This is English classes, and yeah, so let's classes that they went with the little kiddos and they were learning English, so they participate. What type of activities you done with the kids?
This was really cool because you can see they're so young, but they were able to have conversations with us like in full English, which was just amazing because I just wish that we had that opportunity here to learn a language like young and really like, I don't know, because I only really started learning Spanish in high school and I wish we had more opportunity, but it was really cool to talk to these kids because they were so excited. Like the little kids just thought we were they just couldn't believe like we were there speaking English with them from America. Like it was fun to talk to them about like our lives and their lives and how they relate. They really thought that was cool. It was basically just like a Q&A. They just asked us about our life, and if I wanted to ask them questions, then we did that as well. So,
what was your favorite part about living with the families?
I mean, that's like so hard to answer, but I think, first of all, obviously just the fact that the parents didn't speak any English, so just being forced to speak Spanish was so good for me to like learn it. But I think like how welcoming they were to like, because I was not expecting to be so close to them. By the last day, I was like really sad to leave. It felt like family, and they were so like inclusive. Like every time they did something, they were like, "Do you want to go?" And of course, like I did, because they told us like, if they ask you to do anything, do it, because you're not gonna get the chance to do that. So I was going to like auto shops with them, grocery shops. So I was just really, I don't know, they included me a lot more than I was expecting, and I think that was really amazing.
We didn't really have the opportunity to go to Madrid as a tour because our bus driver slept in one day. But basically, so I stayed with this girl named Blanca. She's super sweet. But she has an older brother who's in the University of Madrid. So her parents and her took me to Madrid for the weekend. So I got to see like the entire city. Like while Blanca was doing her psychology homework, her brother took me on a tour of like La Plaza Mayor, and because the Madrid Open was there, they had like the clay courts in the middle of the town center that you could rent out and stuff and play tennis on. I got to see on Sunday, an hour before we were going to do it, they told me we were going to go see a bullfight. So that was fun to prepare for, but so we got to see like the Plaza de Toros, and it was so cool. It was an incredible experience. I loved it. Like you just get so immersed in the culture that you just don't expect it. Like you wouldn't experience the same thing if you were just go as a tourist.
Right.
And I went to Sevilla. I wasn't expecting to go to Sevilla, but Carmen went to visit her daughter, who is a doctor in a hospital in there, her sister, so we sleep in the house. We participate in the Flamenco Sevilla Festival. So it was very interesting seeing all that stuff during the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
One day after school, we went for a horseback riding. We saw Mr. McGowan a lot. And of course, I had to bring my chessboard somehow.
Of course.
So every time that we had like a break, the kids they were, Señora, you had the chess. I
That's
say,
it.
let's play. We were very lucky. This time that we went, we witnessed 2 big festivals in Cáceres. That one was the St. George's Day, and kids, you can tell them the story.
So St. George's Day, they have a bunch of like little primary schools and like the churches and stuff like that. They all get together. They all make their own like dragons out of like whatever, out of like paper, anything. And then they have like like the huge celebration in the town center, which is really cool. But so all the Spaniards like took all the Americans out, and we had a lot of fun because this was like just a day off that they had. It's like a national holiday.
Was a holiday.
Yeah, yeah. So they took us out.
Yeah. So Saint George, Jorge. That's what I was trying to say, 'cause that's what they say there. But they're like it's like a myth of his myth is that when he like came to, he's their patron. It's like hard for me to explain this, but he is their patron, and like he like looks over Cáceres for them. But in order to like gain that role, he had to fight a dragon. So that's why dragons are so like such a big thing there for this holiday. So we went to this parade to see that, and like Amelia said, they just like are up all the time. Like they just party all night long, and like yeah, like dinner it's normally at 10, but this night it was at like 12, and the restaurants are packed. Everyone's there. It's just crazy. It's just so different than anything we do here. But it was really great that we got to experience a holiday, because that's something that obviously is much different than the culture here. So
That's awesome.
And this is, you visit English classes in the morning?
yeah, Trujillo,
And then
yeah.
we went to Trujillo.
Which that part was really cool for Amelia and I and anyone else in our Spanish class, because we learned about like conquistador that was born in Trujillo. We learned it about him before we came to Spain, and then we got to see his house, and like that was just like very I don't even know the word for that, but just like the my world's working a lot. I don't know, but like the fact that like we
It's like really connecting what we do here in the classroom, because I taught them about the Mexico pre-Hispanic, and we talk about the conquerors, the Americans, the natives from before, and yeah, we went up there.
Yeah, it was really
That's so cool.
because you're always thinking about how much like are you really like learning from these Spanish classes if you're not actually immersed in the culture. But I learned that I know so much just from those classes, and obviously I learned so much more being there. But yeah, just having that connection is really cool. Thank you.
So this is Trujillo. It was like I love this city. It was so cool. I walked around with Senora Jimenez pretty much most of the time. It was so much fun because like she loves to like take her time and just like experience it all. It's very cool. But then we had 2 hours where we could just walk around and stuff. But the time was from 2 to 4, which is kind of a problem because that's siesta, so all the stores are closed. So we kind of just found like a nice ice cream spot. We took a little adventure down the streets and stuff, which was really cool. So, oh yeah, I bought some really good cheese and ham. Took that back. My mom was so happy. But yeah, so they just have these medieval palaces everywhere, and they're just like, this is normal.
This is normal.
See,
What is that?
El Aljibe. This was
This is the last
This was the second tour.
This is one day before our last day in the school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they visit English classes. We went back into the old city of Cáceres. We went inside museums, and they were closed the day down. We had the history class, so we had the opportunity to go there, and we can talk about.
So this is El Aljibe, which is just like an aquifer that they have. So you can kind of see like, I'm not sure if you can see in this picture, but you can see like the water line where they used to like, just like drag out the water, which is so cool. And you can sort of see like the Islam, the Muslim impact on Spain with like all the arches and stuff like that.
Engineering, architecture. You know
I
how
like
they
this.
used to collect the water.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I like this because before we were with like a younger group of kids, and they were so much fun. We taught them Foursquare. It was really great.
This day was so awesome. Yeah, I just had like the best day ever this day. I don't know if I just woke up on the right side of the bed or what, but I just had the best day. We had churros for breakfast, which was awesome. there's us eating them. They were really good. And this is just in their cafeteria at school. And, like, it's not a cafeteria. It's, I don't even know how to explain it. But they don't actually, like, go there to eat lunch like we do where everyone sits there. It's just, like, a place to hang out if you want. But because it's so nice there all the time, they mostly just eat outside. But this is just a place you can go, like, whenever you have, like, a free time. There's the chessboard again. That made a lot of appearances. Yeah. This was a photo competition, and Tony just won every single round, so that was really fun for us.
The first day, then we went officially to school, they told the kids, get ready, you're going to have a photo competition for the last day. So, and they give the categories, one's the funny, the cultural, familiar, what was the other one?
It was like the fun, like divertida, the fun or funny.
Fun, culture, art, and family.
Art.
Okay.
This was so amazing. So these are just Spanish dancers from all over, like Cáceres and just other parts of there, but now Extremadura. Yeah, so Extremadura is Cáceres and then Badajoz, and it's like those are the two parts of it. So there were Spanish dancers from both parts of that, and just all over. Like some were from Trujillo, which we toured, but they showed us their dances, and then we got to actually dance with them, and we each had a partner. There's Senora. She had a lot of fun here. We all did.
Everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
But the dances, that dance was amazing. Every
Yeah.
single of our students were dancing. I have a lot of videos. Because I am not the best in technology. I don't know how to integrate in them. But I can share it with Mr. McGowan and you can see it. But seriously, and they explained to us every single dress, it has their own meanings.
Yeah.
And it comes from a different village. From Extremadura, so explain us the symbolism in the color, in what they had, the decorations that they have. It was amazing.
And they're all like passed down from generation to generation. Like it was very interesting to learn about that. And we each got we just picked a random partner to dance with, and mine like just loved me. It was so fun. She like they just were so, I don't even know. I guess like appreciative of us, like just being we did all of the dances. We tried our hardest, so I think they just really appreciated that, and we appreciate it as well because that's so cool.
And
it was good.
In
Yeah.
Spanish.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was one of the goals. And this is the last day, last picture with
that's the school.
The students, Colegio San Antonio de Padua. This is the
There's
goodbye
me saying
from
bye.
the
This was so sad. I did not think I was gonna cry, but the second we had to get on the bus, it was.
And this is in the Madrid airport, and then this is Winnacunnet at 4:30.
We made it back.
We made it back, and then,
What a wonderful experience.
It was really amazing.
And we are, we say, lucky enough, they really, really told me that if the school approve it, for them there would be a privilege to have kids from Winnacunnet with them.
Wow.
Because I asked them, I have other teachers from other schools who would like to do this trip.
Yeah.
And I asked the teacher in there, hey, I have this school and this one. And she said, no, chicken. If Mr. McGowan and the school board approve, it's just for Winnacunnet.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
So.
No pressure, girls.
We are allowed to start promoting. No, I start promoting now.
Yeah, right. Well,
Oh, and
thank you.
I have some videos of 1 minute from few kids talking about why this trip. If you want to listen, Mr. McGowan, I share it with you. If you want to show at least one or two.
Not ours. But
Any
yeah.
questions?
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you had a good time.
It was. I can't even express it.
I'm still talking to Blanca. We're planning a trip for the summer.
Oh, I love it. That's awesome.
We really made friends for
I share it with you in Google Drive.
You'll have to bring them in. Have them come here.
I'm sure the school board meeting will be their first stop.
So my favorite part about going to Spain was really just kind of seeing the real culture, you know, not just being a tourist there. Living with a host family is a completely different experience than just visiting a country. You really start to understand how they live and, you know, the similarities and differences. You know, you start to appreciate things about your culture, appreciate things about theirs. You know, simple things that I really enjoyed were just like going out with friends after dinner, stuff like that, you know. And Cáceres is a very, very safe city, so you can kind of just be just walking around. You don't have to worry about anything. So it's super nice to be able to do that. And obviously, you still get to be a tourist. You go to other cities and stuff like that. But the thing that really impacted me was just understanding the culture there, because it really just changed my perspective on things.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you to you for supporting and believing in our work. How I do this? I don't know.
You have to stay there all night and hold that.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm bringing my house.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you to you.
Good to see you. All right. You wanna?
Could do Mary's,
Yeah.
and maybe just have reports on file.
I think that's a good idea. Mary, let's do yours report. That was not the way I wanted to say it.
We're gonna sneak out.
The special ed determination.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have any world travels.
Yeah.
Luke and Zoe, thank you so much.
Thank you very
We'll see
much.
you again.
Luke, have a great year. Yes, you get to keep that.
Yes.
The standard is
Yeah,
this.
leave.
Just the plate.
Yeah. Zoe needs a plate, so I'm sorry. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Luke.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you at graduation.
Bye.
Bye, Zoe.
Congratulations.
See you in June.
While she's getting set up.
Yeah. Oh,
Do you wanna
ending
close
public comment.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
And I think what we're gonna do is the reports are just gonna be on file. We've got
Okay,
them
that
here,
sounds
rather
good.
than go through all the
Yeah,
reports,
thank
okay, girls? Well, it's just, they're here, we can read them. Sorry, you don't get to speak. You can if you want. Okay.
We still have a lot left to address. so-
Because we still have a lot of stuff, so I think with the reports that are there, and then if we've got questions. Yeah, okay.
Thank you for your time. I won't be too long. It feels like I was just here giving you these determination reports a year ago, and here we are again. So as you may remember, this is something that is required under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. States are required to make determinations annually on the performance of each public school district. And when they do that, we received these results in April, but most of the data is from the year before. So we're receiving the data, later. And the rubric that New Hampshire uses has 4 areas. I want you to just review them again. Obviously, we'd like to get meets in all categories, and then the next category is a needs assistance. Then it goes down to needs intervention, and then needs substantial intervention. So that's the goal here. It is separated into 4 areas. One thing I wanted to point out, and it's in red there on the right side of your screen, they changed the rubric percentages. And if you may remember last year, I told you this is a game where you don't want any points. Sort of like golf. The lower score is the better score. So we don't want any of those points. 0's good in this particular determination rubric. And last year, in order to stay in meets, you could receive up to 38% of those nasty points and still be in meets. And this year they changed the rubric so that they capped it at 30%. Anything over 30%, and now you have to go down to the category below. And same thing happened with needs assistance. It used to go up to 65% of the points, and now it's capped at 60. So you can see, just as a review, what the 4 areas are. The first one is results. Those are things like graduation, dropout, our educational environments, and this is all students with disabilities that we're looking at the data for. Obviously, you don't have any of the preschool outcomes here. Parent involvement would count, and post-school outcomes. And again, we're looking at data from a year ago. The second area is how we're doing on our assessment. Are our students with disabilities hitting proficiency benchmarks? Are they hitting growth benchmarks? When we look at gaps of reading, et cetera, and the participation that we may have in alternative assessments. The third category is compliance, and those are things like suspension and expulsion, disproportionate representation based on ethnicity, child find, early childhood transition, which again is an NA for the high school, and secondary transition, which is very important here. And the final category is other factors, and those include things like grants, any complaints, allegations, the turnover of SPED administrators, all of that is in that particular category. And so we receive a determination in each of the 4 categories. Then they put it all together, and based on that rubric analysis at the bottom here, you will receive also an overall determination. So I added on to the slide from last year where we looked at 2 years of data and added 23, 24 in. So again, we received the data in April, just this past April, but it is looking mostly at data from a year ago. And you can see that we're still in needs assistance. However, if you look at the percentages, under results base, we've gone from 60 down to 50%, so we're heading in the right direction. Lower is better. And in assessment, we're getting better there. And so you can see that if they had kept it at 38, we still would have not made the meets, but we would have been really close. So 38.89% is where we ended up, but still headed in the right direction. And then the compliance, we were meets for the last 2 years, meets again, but with 0 points now under compliance. So kudos to Amy Terrian, the director here, and all of the staff that work closely with her and the administration to do this really good work under compliance. And then under the additional with grants and those issues, still a very low score, 12.5%, and in the meets again. So just any questions around this? The Department of Education does make resources available, especially for schools that end up in the needs intervention category, and fortunately for us at Winnacunnet, that's not the case. So just giving you the update, and we'll continue to do good work and see where we end up next year. Any questions?
Are these results for other schools or other high schools in New Hampshire available publicly to look at to see how it compares, or do you know offhand how it's comparing to other high schools?
I do believe this is public data.
Okay.
And we can certainly look that up and see how it compares. Anything else?
Do you know, what was the reasoning behind adjusting the percentage levels? Like from 30, do you know, were they
Meredith has a good answer for that.
I do. I mean, every state is looking to improve outcomes, right? So they gradually raise the bar. That's all. So it's that process as part of their reporting to the federal Bureau of Special Education.
Yeah.
And they have a caveat in there that says they can do that at any time. So, you know, they tell you ahead of time that, you know, don't count on this continuing for next year. So.
Well, thank you for all your hard work.
Of course. Thank you so
Mary.
much for listening.
We like the trend, so that's awesome.
We're going in the right direction.
We are going in the right direction. I appreciate it, all the work. Okay, moving on. We've got minutes. We're gonna, like I said, our reports are in here, so if you've got questions on those, please reach out to your department heads or principals, okay? We've already done Winnacunnet Pride, so we're gonna do the minutes, so I could, on April 17th, do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I wasn't here. Otherwise I'd do it.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, no worries.
Motion to approve the minutes from the April 17th regular meeting.
Thank you. A second?
Excuse me.
Thank you. Alrighty, all those in favor? Okay. And one abstention, so then, April 30th, our work session.
Which was the legislative meeting.
Oh, yeah.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the April 30th, 2024 work session.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. School board goals, we might do that.
You're gonna bump that.
I'm gonna bump it. I'm gonna bump school board goals. Pardon me?
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah,
You could do a work session. You
Yeah.
could do that over the summer, or.
I would rather do that, yeah. Let's get together for a work session. Yep.
Or
Yeah.
maybe even like send out guidelines or parameters.
Well,
or
we have the,
something,
she sent us out the old ones, so,
Oh, okay.
no, you've
Well,
got those, right?
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much
Whatever
the,
your approach
yeah.
is, what you
Yep.
want us to do.
NEASC update, is that what Bill, is that what you're getting ready? Okay. Yeah.
I tried to click on on the improvement.
So while he's getting set up, do you want to quickly dispense with the new business items in terms of the things we just had our public hearing about?
Sure. Let's do that. So withdrawal of special education expendable trust. So could I have a motion for that?
I will make a motion to withdraw up to $150,000 from the special education expendable trust for unanticipated special education costs.
I'll second that. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Next one, for the budgetary fund balance.
Motion to expend up to $100,000 from the retained budgetary fund balance for unanticipated special education costs.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor? And unanticipated revenue funds.
Motion to expend up to $100,000 from surplus revenue funds for unanticipated special education costs.
I'll second that. Thank you. All those in favor? All right, so we've got them all, right? Did I get them all?
Yeah.
All right, good. Then we need the Chromebooks. Why don't we just whip that out and then that can go on. So we have a bid. Do you want, go ahead.
Yeah, so the bid process has concluded for our annual Chromebook purchase. Bids were sent directly to 7 qualified vendors, 3 submitted bids, and we are recommending award a bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $115,780. That's for 280 Chromebooks. That includes the Chromebook, the management license, and the 4-year warranty. Funding is from the 2024-2025 operating budget. We did budget $112,000, so that's about $3,700 over our estimate. I did speak to Jason Saltmarsh, our Director of Technology, and he has identified some areas elsewhere in the technology budget that he can reduce to cover that small differential.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Can I get a motion to award the Chromebooks?
I'll make a motion to award the Chromebooks purchase bid to New Era Technology in the amount of $115,780.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Great. And then we have the, if we want to take a motion to accept that donation that we already spoke about?
10,000.
Yep.
Where is that?
Next one down.
That's under the Chromebooks.
Motion to accept the donation of $10,000 from the Friends of Winnacunnet Foundation to be used towards the installation of the accessible walkway.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Yeah,
Amazing.
both hands up. That's
I don't know.
exciting.
Bill probably would have mentioned this in his report, but he was just notified, actually today, that he did receive a grant of $1,000 for the pathway.
Thank you, Tamara, I think, for leading us to that one, right?
Oh, yes, that was.
Oh, was that my little,
Yes.
my little nugget? Oh, yay.
Nice,
So
Tamara.
that's really great news, and
Awesome.
will help offset the cost of
Oh,
the
fabulous.
pathway. So.
Great, thank you.
And could you,
Received notification this morning or this afternoon, so thank you.
and that's from the Developmental Disabilities Council? Is that
New Hampshire Council, yeah.
Developmental
Okay,
disabilities.
all right, yeah, great.
Look
Perfect.
at this
Thank
walkway
you.
coming along.
I know. I love
Getting
it.
it done.
Yeah.
Takes a team.
Did we vote on, we did vote on that, right? We just did, yep, okay, good. Thank you. Matt, good night.
Yeah, Matt, go home.
Good night, go. Feel better. So now we're gonna go back up.
Back to NIAS.
There we go, our NEASC update. Yeah, and you're going home too.
I do feel completely fine. I know I don't sound it. It sounds horrific. I feel okay. I really
All
do.
right.
Would you like some cough drop?
Infectious.
Yeah.
I love it. Don't go over there. I should be wearing a mask. Honestly, I thought about it. I got out of the car. I don't even have a
She's
mask.
teasing you.
I'm
Oh my
so
God.
2024.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, you're like 2019.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, really.
It's like I gotta have a a mask.
I'm like close to 70, that's what it is.
Would you care for a Ricola?
Yeah, oh, do you want one?
I'm okay, thank you.
She's got a cough drop.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Donna's handing out some paperwork. We combined the NEASC update, the school improvement plan update, and also Portrait of the Learner because it all gets tied back to the NEASC update. Every 10 years we have to go through the accreditation, and we just went through the accreditation visit back in March. They changed the process a little bit, but it's still a 10-year process, and it's a great reflection on what we're doing at Winnacunnet High School. It highlights what we're doing well, also highlights areas that we can improve. So it's just an opportunity for us to reflect.
Okay, sounds good. I just wanted to review the timeline quickly so you can understand why we combined this report out about our school improvement plan in conjunction with the results from our NEASC accreditation report. So in the fall of 2022 is when we started to begin the work of looking at those priority areas that NEASC gave us, and we developed our growth plan from there. So while that was happening, simultaneously, as you can remember, we as a district started working on our Portrait of a Learner. So those two things were happening at the same time. So it was interesting that we were walking that parallel path, but still trying to make the connection between the two as best that we could. And so as time progressed, what we did throughout the NEASC process was, through surveys and workshops and, just making sure we're getting feedback from staff and looking at, different levels of evidence and data, we arrived at our school-wide goals. So we established these school-wide goals, but then just recently this past spring, as you know, the Joint Board approved the Portrait of a Learner. So we wanted to make sure that we took the time and really authentically connected and crosswalked those two documents so that moving forward, as we're developing our school improvement plan, we're incorporating both of those elements. So that was just wanting to give you a brief understanding of where we were coming from. So linked in this report, is this in their board docs, this presentation?
No.
So we could get this presentation to you because we are linking, we'll have to go back. You're going forward, is this your arrow? Yeah, right there. So linked in here is the full accreditation report.
Yeah.
But what I handed out to you is a summary of that
Okay.
report. I thought would be easier to view, and I'm going to go even further summarizing that in the presentation. So I just wanted to point that out, that all of the things that are in red here in this presentation are links. So quickly, just as far as the recommendations of the NEASC report, we were really pleased with how it turned out and the reflection of the work that we've done since the beginning of the process. We're really happy that they've recognized that we are building upon all of the resources that we currently have, and also being really authentic about putting the improvement plan in place. So that being said, one of the recommendations is make sure that we're finalizing that improvement plan. That's the one element of this that they couldn't put, you meet this requirement. We just aren't there yet, but they understood the adjustment in the timeline was working in parallel with our Portrait of a Learner and going through this process. So it didn't necessarily impact us too much, but it was a recommendation that we make sure that we finish that, and we are on track to do that. One of the other things that they've talked about throughout was making sure that we are continually building upon our instructional strategies. One of the things they pointed out to us is that they were in the classrooms quite a bit and saw a lot of different methods of teaching that wasn't that traditional stand in front of the room and speak and lecture. They did see that, of course, in some cases, but they saw so many different other ways of teaching, and they wanted us to make sure that we are documenting and building upon those resources so that we can share it amongst our teachers in our departments and beyond our departments. So that is one thing we wanted to do. Embedding Portrait of a Learner, now that it's approved in our curriculum, is really important. And then again, creating this roadmap, this shared vision of where we're moving forward and all of the different elements that you're going to hear about in a moment, and just making sure that we're communicating that effectively with all stakeholders involved. So those are just some of the recommendations that were listed, and you have a full report that you can read through as well. We had a lot of commendations. Here's just a snapshot of them as well. They're really proud of the safe and positive environment that we have at Winnacunnet, and so are we. So they definitely looked at that. They saw that all students are respected and included, and we honor diversity here at Winnacunnet. So they remarked on that. They were really impressed with the amount of feedback and the comprehensive process in developing our Portrait of a Learner, making sure that we're involving feedback from our community, from our students, as well as our staff. And they are commending that we are mirroring that image and using that process to create our school improvement plan. So they sat in on a meeting where we were involving as many staff members as possible in feedback and developing the school improvement plan. And so that of course is allowing staff to buy into the process and really feeling like they own that process. So carrying out that school improvement plan over the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be really important that they're a part of that vision. So they gave us a commendation for that. Couple other things is they really appreciated the relationship that we have between our school board, yourselves, and our superintendent and our principal as well. So they appreciated that, the working relationships we have there as well. And of course, just because I'm biased, they really love our ELO program. So they talked about that as well. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So as you can see, here's just a snapshot. We met every single thing except for that one element, which includes our school improvement plan under professional practices. Again, they were really, they gave us a lot of commendations about the process and understood that the process just takes time, and we're not there yet, but we will be there soon.
Wait, what about the other ones that say do not need to?
So if you look at the last column, so decennial visitors rating, so that's sort of the progression that we've made throughout the process. Sorry, I should have explained that. So now we're looking at that final column, and that's where we are now. So based on that final decennial report, the only one that we don't meet is that professional practice, and again, it's we're in process with our school improvement plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I came 2 years ago for the collaborative visit, we had our ratings as far as what we thought as a school we met and didn't meet. They kind of agreed with us when they came, and that was how we developed the growth plan for the last 2 years to address those issues.
Yeah.
And then again, clearly, with the timeline, we adjusted the timeline with the school improvement plan.
So yeah, you don't have to click on it now, but so those 3 or 4 pages that are stapled together, that's what's linked in here, so you can see a little bit more detail. But as Bill said, you also have the full report,
Right.
which is 30 some odd pages. You could read that as well if you'd like. Okay. So again, school improvement plan. So one of the reasons why we were held up in our timeline was partly also because we wanted to finalize our Portrait of a Learner. We had developed our school-wide goals, and that was the really important foundational piece. And again, those are linked in this presentation, but I'm going to show you in a minute what that looks like. And so what we ended up doing was crosswalking that Portrait of a Learner that was established and our school-wide goals, and started to develop a structure for what the foundation of this school improvement plan is going to look like. And so essentially what we came up with were 3 different themes. So those are those overarching themes. I'll share those with you in a moment. Under those themes, we're connecting them just sort of initially with our Portrait of a Learner. We're going to dive deeper into the Portrait of a Learner connections in the next stages, and I'll explain that again in a moment. And then under those themes and those connections to the Portrait of a Learner, then we're developing sort of these broad goals, about 2 to 3 for each theme. And that's sort of where we are right now. And again, I'll show you that in a second. But where we're going is now taking those elements that everybody agreed on, like our main goals and themes, and now we're going to strategize around them. So how are we going to meet those goals? What are we doing now that we have to maintain? And what do we have to put in place in order to meet that expectation over the course of 3 to 5 years? So that's where we are. So again, just visually looking at that next sheet with all the colors on it, you can see that the dark blue is our themes. So we have 3 of those themes. In the pink is our goals. It doesn't really come up on the color on the presentation, but you can see it on the sheet that I gave you. The pink are our goals. So those are our broader goals that we are going to build strategies to achieve, and that's the next step. And the light blue is how we're connecting it to the Portrait of a Learner. And again, we're going to take a deeper dive in that in the next stages. Okay. So if we look at our first one, so our first theme is shared leadership and collaboration. This was a really important priority area under our NEASC work. It was really essentially threefold. We were looking at making sure that we were empowering our students to be active members of their own learning and helping to make decisions that relate to them and their learning in this community and then beyond. So that was one strategic goal that we were looking at. The next was making sure that we are providing a formal process for our staff to engage in helping to make decisions and analyzing how we're doing in creating policy and change, and then making effective decisions based on that analysis. The third goal is making sure that we are constantly empowering our staff through our professional development avenues to improve, to self-reflect and improve on their teaching practices. So those are the three goals that we've worked really hard. We went from like 4 different goals down to 3, then, or like back and forth. It was a really helpful process. What we did is, again, Bill and the administrative team put together their initial thoughts based on all the work over the course of a year and a half. We shared that with team leaders who went back to their departments, who then came back with feedback, and then we hashed it out, and so we landed here. So the beauty of that, even though it took a considerable amount of time, is that now everybody has built consensus around these goals before we move forward and strategize around them. So it was a time-consuming process, but a worthy one.
Yeah, they felt my things were too general.
Yeah, they were a little bit. So we had to really hone in on them. The next theme would be our competency-based learning and curriculum development, which was a really big component, really big, ambitious chunk of our goals, but we wanted to pare that down. So certainly our first major goal is focusing on our competency-based curriculum, how we're implementing that, how we're improving teaching methods around that, and certainly incorporating student outcomes and teacher reflection as well. So that's a big goal. Second goal is our multi-tiered systems of support. So making sure that we're constantly looking at the support structures that we have in place for our learners and for academic and behavioral interventions. Our third and final theme is culture and climate. And this one, I would say so far in our process, has really risen to the top as some really top priorities for us school-wide. Our staff has spoken that, especially in this first goal, celebrating our achievements and strengthening the relationships we have with our community and our families is certainly really important. So that certainly will play a factor in the well-being of our students and our staff as a whole. So that positive outlook and building a climate where we're here to celebrate and then connect with our community as much as possible is really important. Our second goal under this theme is our diversity, equity, and inclusion goal. So making sure that we are respecting, valuing, and empowering all of our students and everybody being welcome here at Winnacunnet. Our third goal is all around sustainability. So how are we making sure that as a school community, we are cognizant of our global environmental issues, and how are we empowering students to recognize that and participate in them? And then finally, our fourth goal is all around social emotional learning and making sure that we are ensuring that students have an opportunity to develop their social emotional skills. So that's a lot. It took a lot of time to hone down as much as we could. And so now our goal is to strategize around them. And so this is really, I think, in my opinion, where the real work begins. And so what we are currently doing with our team leaders is starting to analyze data and evidence. So the data and evidence is helping us do a couple of things. It's going to help us determine where we are right now in each of those goals and help us determine what we need to do to put in place for strategies. So once we do that, and once we identify the strategies and action we want to put in place to accomplish those goals, then we have to then build that plan out. Who's going to be responsible for it? What is that timeline? And again, we're looking, this is pretty ambitious, and NEASC said as much. This is a really worthy foundation for a school improvement plan. It's really ambitious, so really look at this. And we initially said 3 to 5 years. They're like maybe 5 to 7 years. And so they said, but this is a really important foundation to build that roadmap, so that when we're making decisions about academics, about budget, about hiring practices, like everything you can imagine, really ought to be read through the lens of this this roadmap, this school improvement plan. So it's a really key foundational piece. So we're aiming to finish the major structures by the end of this year. We're on track to do that, and there'll be a full rollout in the fall. So we really hope that when we come back in September, we can share with you the full final plan with all the strategies listed and the strategic plan to get there.
Some of the work we did today during the early release was at the department level for them to take a look at this and see how they can fulfill these goals at the department level, and that ties back to the individual level. So when we do the evaluation plans and things like that, it's all tied together.
Perfect. Oh, that's awesome. It sounds great. Thank you.
I'm pretty excited about it. It's a lot of work, but it's worthy work. So.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and the fact that the improvement that's gone, do you know what I mean? All along, we're moving in the right direction again. You know what I mean? Which I love.
And it's been really important to us. I'll stress this one last point, to make sure that we're connected with the Portrait of a Learner. Like,
Yes.
it was just it was inconvenient in a way that we were building those two together, parallel. But also it's allowing us a chance to say, okay, our NEASC work wasn't in vain, like Portrait of a Learner doesn't exist over here and this exists over here. We're able to really bridge the connections between the two. So as we build the strategies, we'll take a deeper dive. Like you could see in that sheet I gave you, we just quickly connected them just based on theme. But as we build strategies, we can connect more specifically the strategies that were outlined in Portrait of a Learner.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Again, one of the standards for NEASC is that we have the vision of the graduate or the portrait of the learner. So the fact that we've done it here, the SAU 21 has done it here district-wide, just says that much more about it.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
Add a little bit.
Sure.
I just feel so smart. Because we've been working on this work with other principals too, and they've been grappling with how do you make these two sides come together, which is what you're talking about. So I think the idea that you have these three main themes feels so manageable because of that. It just as a suggestion, where you have the light blue bars underneath, I see that you grouped a couple of the sections of the Portrait of the Learner. Maybe just add another blue bar and write it out and use that language right from Portrait so that we don't lose sight of exactly. It's not only wellness, it's also mindsets and what do we want to say about mindsets. So you just keep that right underneath that. But I love the idea of the three, and I think the other principals are going to love this too. So.
And that ties in as we develop the strategies, the strategies will actually identify those specifics.
Fit really, really well. So it's a smart way to do it. So.
And there is a version of that sort of stretches that out a little bit. I wanted to make it on one page for you guys, but we were doing exactly what you described. So I think the end, you'll be happy to see the end result will be more comprehensive.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. So thank you.
Right.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Donna. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks. It's exciting.
It is. We've done everything, so now future meetings.
Was that part of original goals? Was that
Oh.
combined?
Yes. School
Okay.
goals
I just
were-
want to make sure it was the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have non-public.
If I could just make a suggestion that as we sort of put our goals together, maybe strategize about how we can support
Right,
this.
how we interact, yeah.
And not just the five of us, but I think really talking about this at the general board, where everybody's there, because I look at where we've come from, with all the different schools and the different ideas and the different pathways, and if we can continue to kind of nurture that togetherness, I think this will really fly. But anyway.
But each school is going to have a different set of goals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all tied to Portrait of a Learner.
Yeah.
But they could become very different.
Right. Well, there's
There-
going to be different ones. I'm sorry to jump, but there'll be different goals, like at a high school level versus,
Right.
a grammar school level. They're going to have different goals. But if every school keeps this same thing, like you said, the blueprint here,
Yeah, 'cause
and just ties it to exactly, it all funnels
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think tying board goals
Yes.
to
Yeah.
some of those broader areas of Portrait of a Learner, right, makes a lot of sense.
That's a
right?
great
How
idea, Tamara.
are
That
your
makes-
goals supporting
Right.
those categories, those areas? Because that is tied in for each individual school.
I mean, I think we'd do that anyway, but just to
Of course.
articulate that can I think send the right signal.
Absolutely. Nope, I agree.
Thank you.
future meetings. Joint board meeting is Tuesday, May 21st. Joint board policy meeting is Tuesday, May 28th. And our next Winnacunnet School Board meeting is Wednesday, June 12th. At this point,
Graduation being Friday, June 7th, just
Yep.
in case
right,
anyone has forgotten.
yes. Luke's not here to say none of us have forgotten, so, yeah. All right, so at this point, I need to have a motion to go into non-public.
I'll make a motion for a roll call to enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2A at 8:27 PM.
Second.
Thank you, and we'll do roll call.
Desiree Potter? Yes. Lindsay LaFawn?
Yes.
Nicole Seco?
Yes.
Tamara Lay?
Yes.
And Tricia O'Keefe?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.